Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome once again, my friends, to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur archaeologist. And welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting talk and music shows throughout the day, such as mine. And all we do is entertain, inspire, and inform here. And my friends, I want to engage with you. I want you to be part of the conversation. So, on your mobile devices, you can find me on Twitter, Rizzle, Instagram at Colt S. Taylor, and of course, my friends, if you haven't already, bookmark ColtSebastianTaylor.com, where you can catch up on all of my adventures, as well as past episodes of the Saturday Report. All right, my friends, unlike Rudy Giuliani, I do not need a legal waiver to be read before my show, so let's get started with this week's Saturday Report. First up this week, some unfortunate news. There were a couple of deaths to note. Some famous actors passed away this week. First, Dustin Diamond, best known as Screech from Saved by the Bell, passed away at the age of 44 from stage 4 lung cancer. Yes, indeed. He had not been feeling too well last year. Went in for a diagnosis in January and discovered he had stage 4 lung cancer that had metastasized. Had been going through chemo, but unfortunately passed away this week. Got many tributes from his former co-stars, including Mario Lopez, who you probably know, and Mark Paul Gosselaar, the guy who played Zach, say that he was a comic genius. They all remained, I guess, pretty good friends and stayed in touch over the years and whatnot. He is apparently going to be cremated. It's one of his last wishes. But sad to see that he has passed away at such an early age. After Saved by the Bell, he had a somewhat interesting post Saved by the Bell life. I believe he went on to celebrity boxing for a while, had some substance abuse issues. He released a sex tape because, that was all the rage in the early aughts. But it did turn out later he used a stunt double for his performative scenes, so to speak. So, like a true Hollywood star, he doesn't do his own stunts or his own sex tape, apparently. But, in all seriousness, very sad to hear that he has passed away this week. Also passing away, well, he actually passed away in January, but it was announced this week, Hal Holbrook, famous actor, passed away at the age of 95, you probably best know him for Deep Throat in All the President's Men. He played Abraham Lincoln in the 1976 miniseries Lincoln. Also was in Creepshow, Wall Street, The Firm, and Men of Honor. And, he was a very well-renowned, very respected actor. Passed away at the age of 95. He earned both Skill Actors Guild Awards and Academy Award nominations for Best Supporting Actor. One of his last roles was in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, where he appeared as Francis Preston Blair, who, for those historical buffs out there, he was a fairly famous news editor and journalist. So he often liked to pop up in these historical movies. Also best known, way back in his early career, he did a Mark Twain one-man show. And if you see the old pictures of Mark Twain and the old pictures of Hal Holbrook as Mark Twain, they look a whole lot alike. His film and movie career spanned 60 years. Very famous. Almost everything he did was pretty good. And he only retired acting in 2017. Yeah, he only stopped acting about 2 years ago. Some of his last appearances on TV were in the show Bones, Grey's Anatomy, and the new Hawaii Five-0 were his last television appearances, and his last movies he was in was Lincoln, Promised Land, Savannah, Holbrook, Twain, An American Odyssey. So there's a documentary about himself portraying Mark Twain. Planes, Fire and Rescue, and then his last movie was Blackway. Did not see them. I'm not probably had minor roles in there just to pay the bills. But yes, he passed away in January, but his death was announced this week, and passed away at the ripe old age of 95. In other entertainment news, Tony Bennett, the famous crooner, Italian-American singer, amazing singer, was announced he has Alzheimer's, unfortunately. It was diagnosed in 2015, actually. It only is recently now coming out about it. His wife, who was 40 years his junior, gave a series of interviews saying he feels fine. He's not quite sure what all the fuss is about things, but Alzheimer's is taking a toll. He's not remembering things. I mean, you may have had an experience with family members of Alzheimer's. It's starting to set in. He actually, though, recently recorded another album with Lady Gaga. And then apparently the story, which I thought was very sweet and whatnot, that it just shows you that we really don't understand a whole lot about this disease quite yet. That when Lady Gaga came in, Tony Bennett kind of did recognize her and, just sort of nodded and gave one-word answers, a little confused. But once he started singing, remembered who she was and had a good time, and that sort of connection and singing sort of, reconnected him with her and whatnot. And it was a very sweet story as he's trying to progress through life with Alzheimer's. So I don't know how many more albums of Tony Bennett we are going to get. But if you have not listened to this amazing singer, do yourself a favor after the show. Obviously, listen to the rest of my show. But after the show, listen to some Tony Bennett, and I think you'll really enjoy it and whatnot. So I'll be keeping tabs on that when Tony Bennett's and Lady Gaga's new album comes out. I will let you know. And hey, who knows? You might even hear one or two songs here on AWSM Radio. I don't know. Do we have a Tony Bennett hour here on the radio station? Let me ask my producer. And my producer is eating a snack. So I guess Roger the Warehouse Monster does not know. Anyways, Tony Bennett, news story about that. Wanted to bring that to you as well. Keeping with music news, Taylor Swift, a previous story which I had done on her, saying that she had released 2 COVID albums. During COVID-19, she's been keeping busy, recording some albums, and her latest album, named Evermore, was a surprise release late last year and whatnot. Now, probably say, Colt, did you listen to the album To and Fro? Of course I did. I'm a big Swift fan, but that's not the reason why I'm bringing her back up today. Colt, did she listen to your radio show as a big fan? I don't know that for sure. I'm going to assume yes. But no, I'm bringing her up again because she's being sued by Evermore. What? Her album is suing her? As it attains some sort of self-awareness? No, and you need to get back on the meds, my friend, because that's crazy. No, Evermore is a theme park in Utah that has been operating since 2018, and it offers guests of all ages a chance to immerse themselves in a fantasy world complete with baby dragons, dwarves, knights, and other magical elements put on by effects crews and costume actors. Have you been there? I haven't. I didn't know this place existed. But it is also called Evermore, and is suing Taylor Swift because it named her album Evermore, and they think that has impacted them financially. Now, you're saying to yourself, Colt, how could people confuse award-winning singer Taylor Swift with an amusement park full of knights, baby dragons, and other magical elements put on by effects crews and costume actors? That's pretty much Taylor Swift's response to the lawsuit. Her response is that there's no way you could confuse these two things. One's an album, one's an amusement park. What? So they're going to court. I don't see how they're going to win this, because it's not like Taylor Swift recorded a concert in Utah about magical creatures and knights and et cetera, and named it Evermore. She just named her album Evermore. So more than likely, these sort of things get settled out of court. A small fee, whatnot. I mean, it kind of depends on how jerky these lawyers are for the theme park. If I was a theme park, I would just be happy with, hey Taylor Swift, well, how about you come to our theme park and sing a little bit and help support the arts and whatnot. I mean, if they can make it something of a compromise, I think everyone would win on that. I would love to see Taylor Swift in a magical realm with knights and magical creatures. I see her being a bard, an elven bard with magic of some sort. So that's a lawsuit. You pretty much get sued for anything these days. I'm sure one of these days the folks at Jumanji will come after me for my pith helmet, but I'm ready. There's no way you could confuse me, my pith helmet, and Colt Sebastian Taylor for the other guy in Jumanji. Two completely different people. One is hunting Robin Williams. I'm doing a show on AWSM radio. See? Clear difference. So I'll be following that and give you any updates on the lawsuit, if there are any, that come across my AWSM radio news desk. Moving along, my friends, if you have a good singing voice, some people say you have a golden voice. People do not say I have a golden voice. You've heard me from week to week. At best, I'm wrought iron. I'm not even a copper or silver voice. It's just iron. But anyways, golden voice. Have you ever heard of a golden tongue? Well, I have. Some people who are slick the way they talk, they've got a golden tongue. The gift of gab, maybe I might be there. But an actual golden, solid gold tongue. You don't see that too often. But archaeologists uncovering mummies in Egypt came across one with a legit golden tongue, like in the mouth, golden tongue put into their mouth. Now, this is not a very common thing. This has kind of surprised archaeologists while they're going through their. Actually, they're looking for the tomb of Cleopatra, the famous Egyptian queen. Her and Mark Anthony, not the singer. They're looking for that tomb, but discovered some other mummies that were more than 2,000 years old, and one of them had a golden tongue. And now there's some theories about this. Now, some thought, hey, maybe they lost their tongue and this was a prosthesis in there. But the popular theory is that it was placed there post-mortem after said person died. But the golden tongue was stuck in there because they knew that over time the tongue would rot away as do bodies decompose. So the tongue was put there so that person could communicate in the afterlife, rather than sound like he had no tongue. So they've come across a few of these golden tongues. This was the newest one they've come across. Apparently, if you're in the mood to go to museums and whatnot, there are some golden tongues and other golden amulets that are around these mummies are being displayed at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a museum I have been to. Actually, they have a amazing collection there. If one of the first things I'm going to do once I get my vaccine is hit up the museums again, because I did not truly appreciate how much I miss museums before I couldn't go to any of them. But a golden tongue, the thing to have in the afterlife in Egypt 2,000 years ago was a golden tongue. So interesting, and if you get down to the Philadelphia area, maybe you can check it out yourself. Next, my friends, we go to space. Flash! Huh? I don't. That's the only part of the song I know. Flash Gordon. Very, very cheesy movie, but good soundtrack. But no, I'm not talking about Flash Gordon. I'm talking about asteroids. You may remember a few weeks or months ago, I did a story about a probe that took a soil sample from an asteroid and brought it back to Mother Earth here. And, this was from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. They're the ones who were in charge of this satellite. They brought back 5.4 grams of soil. Their goal was 0.1 grams. So a whole lot more, about, 50 times more than what they were aiming for. The brought back in December from the asteroid Ryugu, and it traveled 300 million kilometers, 190 million miles, to Earth. So it was quite a technical feat. But I'm not here to rehash that. You can listen to a past episode and me talking about that. The interesting thing here is this asteroid has very peculiar attributes to it. It was warm, like warmer than it should have been. Like, obviously, traveling through space, you get bombarded by cosmic radiation in the sun, but it's generally a pretty cold place. But this asteroid was a whole lot warmer than what they were expecting it to be. It was like warm on all sides. And not just warm because it's being heated by the sun flying through space. There's something else that's making it warmer than it should have been. So they're analyzing some soil samples there to try to figure out why exactly this is warm and whatnot. It might be some elements in there. It might be something else. But this is a very, very, very strange sort of thing that they're trying to figure out. It could be some leftover warmth from a collision. They just don't know. But they've got a soil sample, and they are going to be trying to figure that out. So this, just a reminder, this probe landed on the asteroid in 2019, scooped up some stuff, and then took off to fly back to Earth. Again, an amazing piece of technology there. Like, wow, I can't. It's like hitting a speeding bullet with another speeding bullet, and the math has to be so perfect. Otherwise, you just blown millions of dollars and add some more space junk to the universe if you miss or collide with said asteroid. So I'll be following that. If there's an update of why this thing is warmer than it should be, I will let you know, my friends. But I'll tell you, my friends, what's worth more than $25, worth more than $50, what's worth more than $100, it is practically priceless. It's my pal, DC, live in effect here on AWSM Radio. He is our in-house DJ, and he mixes it up every Friday night at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m., You, my friends, do not want to miss while he smashes it on the ones and twos, sometimes the threes and fours, from his South Florida compound, week in and week out, right here on AWSM Radio. Some say his musical talents are otherworldly. Maybe he is an alien sent to Earth to learn about music and has loved our people so much that he's decided to stay and to continue to create music. Is that DC's origin story? I don't know. Could be. You should ask him. I don't know if there's a call-in portion of his show. I don't think there is, but if there is, you should ask him. If not, hit him up on social media. He'll let you know if he's an alien or not. If he says no, it probably means he is. Just say that's how the movies work. But in the meantime, my friends, listen to DC live in effect right here on AWSM Radio, Fridays at 9 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Moving along, friends, I've always wanted an island. I mean, my friend DC has one. He'll deny it, but we all know he has an island. Would love to have an island, a little bungalow, little boat. Come out and see me. I could broadcast from an island. But Denmark, the Danes, are building their own island. Why? For me? No, unfortunately not. They are building an energy island, an artificial island for $25 billion, about 80 kilometers offshore in the middle of the North Sea. You may not know where the North Sea is. Spoiler alert, it's in the north part of the world. It's a body of water that is in between the United Kingdom and Norway, and Denmark's kind of like on the lower southeast side. It's a very windy area. It's very windy and very stormy a lot of the time there. Perfect place for an energy island. They're going to build a large wind farm out there. It's going to be protected from the North Sea on three sides by a very high seawall and a dock and service vessels taking up the fourth side. And they're going to the Danes are taking a 51% stake in the island, with remainder being held in the private sector. Is going to be the size of 18 soccer fields, which over there they call them football pitches. And they hope to provide, in the first phase, 3 million households with green energy. So they are building an island out in the North Sea, which you may not know. This is actually not as deep as one would think. And in fact, before the ocean levels rose and whatnot, there was an island out there that got submerged. I believe called Dodgerland, and a lot of ancient stories talking about this island sinking into the water was about this piece of land that was kind of swampy, but people lived there. That was above the ocean, and then when the ice caps melted, ocean waters rose. The United Kingdom got cut off from the rest of Europe, and this piece of land kind of sunk. So it's not too terribly, deep enough for big ships to go through, but not so deep yet you couldn't build an island there. Anyways, they're building this wind farm out of the North Sea. Tremendous potential to provide some clean, green energy to Europe or whatnot. They're building 2 hubs of wind generation, provide 5 gigawatts of wind generation, and hopefully to put some more up there to increase it to 12 gigawatts, hoping to get this completed quickly, because I believe they want to try to get it done by 2033. So this is not going to be something done in, by next year. It takes a little while to build an island, folks. But they are aiming to get this completed and operational by 2033. Denmark is trying to reduce its greenhouse emissions by 70% from its 1990 levels by 2030. And, obviously this thing's come on 2033. It's not really going to help them there. But they're going all for it. Government's taking a big stake into it. They're putting some money into it. So we might see this be the first sort of wind island. We might see more of these in different parts of the world where it's consistently windy. A lot of people don't like wind. People don't like wind turbines on mountains because they interfere with the view. Some folks say the shadow flashes gives them headaches. They're kind of a danger to birds. Despite what you may have heard from other sources, wind turbines do not cause cancer. Just saying. But anyways, I'll be following this. I think this is a great thing they're doing, and I hope it is successful. Next, friends, we go to San Francisco, where Jack Palladino has died. He was a famed private investigator. He worked for celebrities and radicals, and even former President Bill Clinton. He died at the age of 76 after suffering head injuries during an attempted robbery. And he was 76 years old. Some of his famous clients, besides Bill Clinton, were Patty Hearst, Black Panther leader Huey Newton, and disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. He worked for a lot of famous people as a private investigator, and actually went to jail for a few years for illegal wiretapping. He was well known in celebrity circles out there as the person you hired for a private investigator. And he was actually set to retire after one final case, but he was walking along, and 2 people tried to steal his camera from him. He chased after them, fell, hit his head, and then he unfortunately passed away. Apparently, the two people who robbed him were arrested, so they'll probably be going to jail. Just two dumb 20-some-year-olds. So unfortunately, he served his time and whatnot and was looking forward to retirement, but unfortunately he has passed away at the age of 76. Now, I think this is a legit thing, but before these 2 suspects were arrested, there was a lot of attempted robbery and gravely injured. This guy knew a lot of powerful people. A little too convenient for me. And I said to myself, that's interesting. But it does look like this was just an unfortunate random act of robbery or whatnot, and unfortunately he lost his life due to head injury. So famed PI Jack Palladino has passed away. So you may have heard of, he was not in the news super recently, although he did work for Harvey Weinstein. He's trying to make a comeback before he finally retired, but unfortunately, this happened last week. Moving along, folks, as a private investigator, you are often listening to other people's conversations. You are eavesdropping on them. Well, the human species is not the only thing that eavesdrops. Apparently, a recent scientific study showed that marmosets eavesdrops on their fellow marmoset neighbors and judges them accordingly, so to speak. That's what the title of the article I read said. Judges them accordingly. Apparently, marmosets, they're from Brazil. They will hide and listen to other marmosets to see how they're doing, because they want to make sure they're part of a community for their offspring that's positive and safe and whatnot. So how did they do this? Did scientists just sort of eavesdrop on marmosets eavesdropping on other marmosets? Well, kind of, actually. They took some marmosets, they put them in a controlled setting, and from a hidden speaker played different sounds of different marmosets having positive interactions, having negative interactions, and observed them to see how they reacted. And the ones, if they heard positive interactions between their fellow marmosets, they were a little bit more open and poked around and wanted to meet them and see what's going on. If it was negative reaction, then they can hold off, listen a little bit more and pay attention, and I'm not really interested. So obviously it makes sense. An animal, won't go towards anything that that sounds dangerous, but scientists believe that marmosets that make their sort of community, they band together to protect themselves, are making decisions on who they're going to be with based on listening in on other conversations between other marmosets. And it's very interesting. They feel like the primates, are distant species cousins. This is a trait that many of them have, where they will sort of hide and listen, see what's going on before they sort of move on and sort of meet their fellow primates. So I have to say, of all of the episodes I've done on AWSM Radio, I think this is the first and only time I've used the word marmoset so many times in a 2.5 minute period. Marmosets. I mean, I hope I'm saying it right. Holy moly. Am I not saying marmosets right? Boy, that'd be embarrassing. But, whatever. Moving on to international news, Israel and Kosovo have established diplomatic relations in a virtual ceremony because, COVID-19, there is not a whole lot of international travel. So probably the first time the announcement of diplomatic relations have been done over a Zoom call. I don't know if they use Zoom, but you know what I'm saying. But it is very significant. Kosovo is a Muslim majority nation. Israel is a Jewish state. You generally don't see diplomatic relations between these two countries. Announced a sort of diplomatic relations, an economic deal. Also relations being opened between Israel and Serbia, another nation that has a significant Muslim population. Continued normalization of, I guess you'd say, relations between Israel and the sort of Muslim neighborhood in that area. A lot of this started in the previous past administration under Donald Trump, pushing for these variety of deals and normalization of relations between these two countries. Although in a lot of cases, a lot of people, it was not hard to travel between these two places. They weren't officially recognized, but wink, wink, nod, you can come on in. There wasn't really any sort of animosity there. And there's a little bit whatnot, but a lot of these countries just sort of officially didn't have relations, but still had unofficial relations. And now with a variety of economic deals and some incentives, a lot of countries have now opened diplomatic relations with Israel. So it's a good thing. I make sure it will make travel and trade a whole lot easier. State Department spokesman Ned Price hailed it, saying, quote, "Deeper international ties will help further peace and stability in the Balkans and the Middle East." And it had received support from the new U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, as well. So Kosovo is, if you don't know, it's a country in the Balkans. It used to be part of Serbia, became independent. It is a ethnic Albanian majority, and Albanians are, I believe, majority are Muslim as well. That's the predominant religion in Albania. I could be wrong, but not all countries recognize Kosovo. Some countries do, some countries do not. A lot of countries don't want to recognize Kosovo because Kosovo was an ethnic minority in a country that fought a guerrilla war to become an independent nation. They don't want to encourage that sort of thing in their countries. So it's a very sort of it's a very sort of sticky, dicey situation with that. A lot of people want to say Kosovo is an exception to the rule. That's very convenient for them. But anyways, that's you can probably have a whole show about that and whatnot. But anyways, in that realm, new diplomatic relations between Israel and Kosovo, something to watch. Hopefully will add a wee bit of stability to both regions, because both regions could use a wee bit more stability. Speaking of stability, reliability, something you can depend on, my friends. You can depend on My Pal Rocks between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday here on AWSM Radio. The Rock Sessions. It is a drive time show making sure your commute home is fun, featuring, my friends, the hottest music on the charts and some surprises in between. She will make it rock style. She is fantastic. She does not need a golden tongue. She has a golden voice. Very fun to listen to. Always an enjoyable show. She plays some really good music as well. You need to set your alarm to remind you to listen to her show, The Rock Sessions, and you will not regret it. In fact, I'll help you. Alexa, set reminder. Listen to Rox's show daily at 3 p.m. You'll get it on the weekends. They'll just help to remind you to listen to it during the weekdays. So you're welcome, my friends. So The Rock Sessions, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here on AWSM Radio. However, my friends, what you can no longer rely on is Stadia. Stadia is Google's in-game gaming development studio. They will be no longer developing new games for the platform, only featuring games from outside developers. Google tried to dip its toe in the game-making market, much like their other forays into other industries. Didn't quite work out. So they will not be developing new games. They're winding that down. Instead, they're going to be focusing on the service overall and bringing in other games from other developers to their platform. Basically, they sell you some software, a controller, and you plug into a compatible TV and you got your games and whatnot. They were putting out some games, but I tell you what, my folks, the video game industry, it's a wee bit competitive. And they've decided that they're not quite making the revenue they would want with this, so cutting out the making the game part, instead focusing on making sure the service is as best as possible. Do you know anyone who has Stadia? I don't. So probably part of the problem as well. Not as well known as perhaps the PlayStations or the Xbox or the Nintendo Switches or the Commodore 64s. So they're running this down, but still available. You can still play games on there, but like I said, they're going to be focusing on bringing other games to the platform because they feel like their platform and their services they offer are superior than other systems. So I have not played video games on any systems in years. The only games I play are on my iPad and on my phone, and that's about as much fine motor coordination I have. I am entirely too busy to be sucked into the world of modern warfare or whatever those games are. Even Fortnite is entirely too much for me. I can't. Will not get sucked into that one. From winding down to winding up, we now go to Oregon. Oregon, land of trees and easygoing and occasional right-wing militias. Well, Oregon has decriminalized drug possession. All drug possession. You will no longer be arrested and go to jail for having small amounts of not only marijuana, but things like, LSD, heroin, meth, oxycodone, stuff used for personal sort of recreational use. You will no longer be arrested. Instead, you'll get a $100 fine and a health assessment that could lead to addiction counseling, but you're not going to jail for having heroin. Now, listen, that doesn't mean you just can walk around with a brick of heroin and say, hey, this is for some personal use. Yes, the van stacked full of heroin in the RV where there's a meth lab, that is recreational use. No, that you still go to jail for that. That's still a thing. But small amounts, no longer going to be arrested in Oregon. Now, that's just by state and local officials. From a federal perspective, you can still get in trouble and whatnot. So, you're playing with fire there. But Oregon is the first state to completely decriminalize the possession of drugs. It passed by a voter ballot, on the voter ballot by a wide margin. As you may have guessed, local district attorneys not happy about it, saying it normalizes dangerous behavior. But it could be a revolutionary move in terms of the quote-unquote war on drugs, which, quote-unquote, has not been that successful. Oregon has led the way here in many, many ways. It decriminalized the possession of marijuana in 1973. Yeah, that long ago. In 2014, it made it legal to use marijuana for recreational use and whatnot. Then it's regulated and it's taxed and whatnot. They don't plan to be doing that with these sort of harder drugs. There's no plan to legalize, heroin and LSD and stuff like that. It's just no longer possession is decriminalized. You just get a fine for having it. And they're opening up some additional addiction centers and whatnot, because they expect some addiction to go up, but hopefully they will sort of clear out sort of all the drug crimes and whatnot and get people help rather than sending them to jail. Now, this is not the first place to do this. Portugal, that hippin' and hoppin' country on the Iberian Peninsula in Europe, they decriminalized all drugs as well. In 2000, and that's been over 20 years, they saw no surge in drug use, while the number of people who had to be treated for drug addiction increased by 20%. That stabilized in 2008, sort of at a normal level now, but the number of drug deaths fell, actually, during that time. So, there's a variety of studies that into that and whatnot, so this is something we may see more states taking a serious look at. I don't think you're going to have a local cocaine distributor where you have different flavors of that or LSD. Try the white powder, try the Colorado moonshine. That's more of a marijuana thing. But we could see other states do it. Would that lead me to try things? No. Sorry, I graduated the DARE program. I'm just high on life. But if this helps get people the help that they need, reduces drug deaths, and keeps people out of jails for sort of this thing, and drug crimes are disproportionately harsher on minority populations than the Caucasian population. I'm all for it. So I'll be watching it closely. It should be studied. And if it works, it works. If it's not, they can always just, take it off the ballot as well. Pass a new law. Well, my friends, that just about wraps up another fantastic week of the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you for joining me here today. And remember, on your internet-connected devices, you can find me on the internets at the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Rizzle at Colt S. Taylor. Please engage me on there. Let me know about the stories you like, some stories I may have missed, etc., etc. I love the attention, so whatever you just say hello and whatnot. And of course, if you haven't already, you should bookmark ColtSebastianTaylor.com for all things Colt Sebastian Taylor, me, what I'm up to, my adventures, places I like to go, and of course, past episodes of the Saturday Report are also displayed there for your listening pleasure. All right, so until next week, my friends, I am, of course, your friend, Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later.